For over 2,000 years, lighthouses have stood as solitary guardians against the fury of the sea. These towers of light, some ancient, some modern, were built with one purpose: to pierce through the darkest storms and thickest fog, a warning to sailors of treacherous rocks and shallow waters lurking just beneath the waves. They are beacons of hope, symbols of safety. But for the keepers who manned them, they were often prisons of isolation, stone towers where the relentless crashing of waves and the howling wind were their only companions. The loneliness was a palpable entity, a force that could drive a person to the brink of madness. This isolation, combined with the inherent dangers of their job, created a perfect storm for tragedy. We're talking about injuries from maintaining the massive, complex light mechanisms, freak accidents on slippery, winding staircases, and the constant threat of being swept away by a rogue wave. These weren't just jobs, they were battles for survival against nature itself. And where there is intense human emotion, fear, desperation, sorrow, it often leaves an imprint, an energy that remains long after the living are gone. Strange happenings, disembodied voices, and shadowy figures are just the beginning of the tales that cling to these structures like sea salt. Some lighthouses hold secrets darker than the ocean depths they overlook. They are hotspots of paranormal activity, places where the veil between our world and the next is incredibly thin. The spirits of drowned sailors and tormented keepers are said to roam these lonely towers, their stories etched into the very stones. We have compiled the most compelling, the most terrifying, the most documented cases from around the globe. We cannot debunk these stories, we cannot explain them. It's time to explore the top 15 most scary lighthouses. Our countdown begins at a place so deadly, the Brazilian government has forbidden anyone from setting foot there. Ilha da Queimada Grande, better known as Snake Island. Off the coast of Brazil, this island is home to the golden lancehead pit viper, one of the most venomous snakes on the planet. We're talking venom that can melt human flesh. And they're not just a few. Estimates suggest there is one snake for every square meter. It's a living nightmare, a place where every step could be your last. And right in the middle of this hellscape stands a lone lighthouse. Before the lighthouse was automated in the 1920s, keepers were required to live there. The last known keeper and his entire family met a horrifying end. The legend says that one night, the vipers slithered in through an open window. The family fled in terror, trying to reach their boat, but they were bitten, one by one, succumbing to the agonizing venom under the cold, indifferent gaze of the lighthouse beam. Their bodies were discovered later, a testament to the island's brutal power. Today, the lighthouse stands empty, a silent monument to their fate, its light now automated, its halls ruled by serpents. On a tiny, barren islet, at the mouth of the Bay of Santander in Spain, stands the Morro Island Lighthouse. For over a century, this tower was a prison of stone, battered by some of the most violent storms the Cantabrian Sea could unleash. Waves would crash completely over the island, submerging the base of the lighthouse and trapping the keepers inside for weeks, sometimes months on end. Their only connection to the outside world was a precarious cable car, often rendered useless by the gale-force winds and raging sea. This was a place of extreme, unrelenting isolation. The psychological toll was immense. Records tell of keepers going mad from the solitude and the constant roar of the ocean. There were deaths, keepers swept from the rocks, others succumbing to illness with no hope of rescue. The isolation was so severe that in 1921, after years of tragedy and hardship, the lighthouse was finally automated. No human was expected to endure those conditions any longer. Today, it stands as a stark reminder of the brutal life of a keeper, its empty windows like vacant eyes staring out at the sea that claims so many. The energy of that suffering, that desperation, is said to linger. We now travel to Point Lookout, Maryland, a location steeped in the dark history of the American Civil War. This lighthouse stands on grounds that once held a prison camp for Confederate soldiers, a place of immense suffering, disease, and death. Over 3,000 men perished here in horrific conditions. The lighthouse itself served as a lookout post, and its grounds became a hospital. The sheer volume of human misery concentrated in this one area has supercharged it with paranormal energy, making it one of the most famously haunted lighthouses in America. Investigators and visitors have documented a staggering amount of activity here. Disembodied voices are captured on recorders, crying out in pain or calling for help. The ghost of a Confederate soldier is frequently seen, a sorrowful apparition still searching for a way home. Another spirit, believed to be Ann Davis, a former keeper's wife, is said to roam the halls, her presence felt as cold spots and the scent of her perfume. The activity is so consistent, so profound, that it has become a mecca for paranormal investigators, all seeking to connect with the souls trapped at Point Lookout. The coastline of Brittany, France is, well, notoriously treacherous, a ship's graveyard known for its jagged rocks and violent currents. Guarding the strategic naval port of Brest is the Phare du Petit Minou. This lighthouse, connected to the shore by a stone bridge, is a vital beacon, but its history is rumored to be as dark as the waters it watches over. Its strategic importance during times of war made it a target, not just for enemy forces, but for saboteurs and spies. The keepers were not just guardians of light, they were guardians of military secrets. This immense pressure led to an atmosphere of paranoia and mistrust. Whispers and local legends speak of keepers who met violent ends, not by the hand of nature, but by the hand of man. Stories of sabotage, of fights ending in tragedy, and of men disappearing under mysterious circumstances have been passed down through generations. Was it an accident, or was it murder to silence a witness or gain control of the post? The official records are silent, but the energy of that violence, that fear, is said to be embedded within the lighthouse's very stones, a dark secret held within its walls. The Great Lakes can be as unforgiving as any ocean, and the St. Joseph Lighthouse on Lake Michigan is a testament to their raw power. During the harsh winter months, Arctic blasts and violent storms turn the pier and the lighthouse into an unbelievable spectacle of ice. The entire structure becomes encased in frozen spray, creating surreal, beautiful, but incredibly dangerous sculptures. For the keepers tasked with maintaining the light, this was a life-or-death struggle against the elements. They were often stranded for weeks, completely cut off from the shore. Imagine being trapped inside, the sound of the wind like a screaming banshee, the structure groaning under the weight of tons of ice. The pier, their only escape route, would be a slick, treacherous path of frozen obstacles. Many keepers risked their lives, navigating the ice-covered pier in blizzard conditions just to keep the light burning. There are tales of close calls, of men nearly swept into the frigid, churning waters of Lake Michigan. The sheer terror and adrenaline of those moments have left a powerful psychic imprint on this location. Standing tall on the Florida coast, the Pensacola Lighthouse is, a survivor. It has endured the Civil War, been struck by lightning, and battered by countless hurricanes. But some say its greatest battles have been with the spirits that refuse to leave. This is considered one of the most active paranormal sites in the United States, so much so that it was featured on the television show Ghost Hunters. The stories here are not just whispers. They are backed by decades of documented experiences from staff, visitors, and investigators. The most prominent ghost is believed to be Jeremiah Ingraham, a keeper who died in the 1840s. His heavy footsteps are heard climbing the 177 steps to the top, and his disembodied voice has been captured on recordings. Another spirit, a woman named Michaela, is said to have been murdered in the keeper's quarters. Visitors report being touched by unseen hands, doors slam on their own, and children's laughter echoes in empty rooms. The evidence is so compelling that the lighthouse embraces its haunted reputation, offering ghost tours to the brave who want to experience the activity for themselves. In the Atlantic, off the coast of Cornwall, England, lies a single, jagged tooth of granite known as Bishop Rock. It is the most westerly point of the Isles of Scilly, and upon it stands what many consider to be the most exposed lighthouse in the world. This location is so remote, so battered by the open ocean. It's actually listed in the Guinness Book of World Records as the world's smallest island with a building on it. The first attempt to build a lighthouse here was, well, completely swept away by a storm before it was even finished. The current granite tower is an engineering marvel, built to withstand unimaginable forces. For transatlantic ships, Bishop Rock was a deadly hazard. The keepers who manned this tower lived in complete and utter isolation, surrounded by a maelstrom of waves that could tower over the lantern room itself. The psychological strain of being confined to a narrow stone tube with the constant deafening roar of the sea was immense. Maintaining the light required venturing out onto the narrow gallery in gale-force winds. One slip meant being consumed by the Atlantic. The energy of that constant fear, the sheer will to survive in such a hostile environment is, honestly, palpable. This is without a doubt one of the greatest maritime mysteries of all time. In December of 1900, on the remote Flannan Isles off the coast of Scotland, the Island Moor lighthouse went dark. A passing ship reported it, but severe weather prevented anyone from landing for days. When the relief keeper finally arrived, he found a scene of chilling emptiness. The lighthouse was deserted. The three keepers, Thomas Marshall, James Ducat, and Donald MacArthur, had vanished without a trace. The dinner table was set, a chair was knocked over, and their oilskins were gone, suggesting they left in a hurry. The lighthouse log provided cryptic clues. One entry spoke of a terrible storm, winds the likes of which the keeper had never seen. Yet, oddly, there were no reported storms in the area at that time. Another entry noted the men had been praying. The final entry was indecipherable. What happened to them? Were they swept away by a freak wave? Did they go mad from isolation and fight? Or was something more sinister, more unexplainable at play? To this day, no one knows. The legend of the vanished keepers of Island Moor endures, a haunting tale of mystery and loss that echoes in the empty tower. Seguin Island, off the mouth of Maine's Kennebec River, is home to the state's tallest and second oldest lighthouse, but its history is, honestly, marred by profound loneliness and tragedy. In the mid-1800s, a keeper bought his wife a piano to help her cope with the crushing isolation of island life. She had only one book of sheet music and played the same tune over and over and over again. The monotonous song, combined with the endless fog and solitude, drove the keeper to a breaking point. In a fit of madness, he took an axe, destroyed the piano, and then murdered his wife before taking his own life. The story is a chilling local legend, and visitors to the lighthouse today claim that on foggy nights you can still hear the faint, ghostly melody of that single piano tune drifting out from the tower. It's not the only spirit said to haunt the island. The ghost of a different keeper, one who fell down the stairs to his death, is also reported. His playful spirit is known to move objects and gently poke visitors. The combination of tragic history and documented paranormal activity makes Seguin Island a place where, well, the past is very much alive. There is a place off the coast of Nova Scotia so feared by sailors it's known as the Graveyard of the Atlantic. This is Sable Island, a thin, crescent-shaped sandbar that has claimed over 350 ships. The island is notorious for its shifting sands, dense fog, and violent storms, making navigation a nightmare. For centuries, the only signs of humanity were the skeletons of wrecked ships and the wild horses, rumored to be descendants of those that swam ashore from sinking vessels. To combat the constant loss of life, a lighthouse was established. Being a keeper on Sable Island meant living amidst the ghosts of countless drowned sailors. The atmosphere is heavy, eerie, and profoundly sorrowful. The shifting sands constantly uncover and rebury the remains of old shipwrecks and sometimes their crews. Keepers reported seeing phantom lights from ghost ships, hearing the cries of drowning men on the wind, and seeing apparitions walking the beaches. It was a place where the dead far outnumbered the living, and the lighthouse stood as a lonely sentinel over a vast watery graveyard. Its nickname says it all: Terrible Tilly. This lighthouse, perched on a basalt sea stack off the Oregon coast, is one of the most infamous in the world. The construction itself was a deadly ordeal. The first man to even set foot on the rock to survey it was swept away and drowned. Workers had to be winched onto the rock from ships tossing in the violent Pacific, and they lived in constant peril from widowmaker waves that would unexpectedly crash over the entire rock. The project was so dangerous, it earned the name, the Rock of Ages. Life for the keepers was no better. They were completely isolated, sometimes for up to 50 days at a time, enduring storms that threw boulders the size of cars against the tower, even shattering the lantern room glass 135 feet above the sea. The psychological toll was immense. After it was decommissioned, it became a columbarium, a storage place for funeral urns, earning it another nickname, Tombstone Tilly. The lighthouse is a vortex of tragic energy, from the construction deaths to the lonely keepers and the ashes of the dead. It is a place that many believe is truly, deeply haunted. Known as Ireland's teardrop, Fastnet Rock was the last piece of Ireland that emigrants saw as they sailed to America. But it's also a place of immense danger. Located in the Celtic Sea, the rock is exposed to the full fury of the Atlantic. The original lighthouse, an iron tower, was the scene of a horrifying accident when a huge wave smashed the lantern, extinguishing the light and filling the room with water, nearly drowning the two keepers inside. The tower was deemed too weak for the location. A new, stronger granite tower was built, but the perilous seas continued to claim lives. The lighthouse is a silent witness to countless shipwrecks, including the tragic sinking of the Lusitania in World War I, which went down just 11 miles from the rock. The keepers here faced constant danger, not just from the storms, but from the sheer difficulty of getting on and off the rock. The energy of these tragedies, the fear of the keepers, and the last goodbyes of a generation of emigrants are all absorbed into this lonely stone sentinel. On a desolate, barely accessible rock off the coast of Sakhalin Island in the far east of Russia, stands the Anova Rock Lighthouse. This is a place that feels like the end of the world. Originally built by the Japanese in the 1930s and later taken over by the Soviets, it is now completely abandoned, left to rust and crumble in the brutal maritime climate. The waters surrounding it are treacherous, known for their strong currents and perpetual fog, making the lighthouse a critical, yet now defunct, piece of engineering. The lighthouse was once powered by a diesel generator, and later by a radioisotope thermoelectric generator, a nuclear power source. The combination of extreme isolation, military secrecy, and now nuclear remnants creates an intensely eerie atmosphere. It's a ghost of the Cold War. Explorers who have dared to make the dangerous journey to the lighthouse report a heavy, oppressive feeling inside. The empty corridors, decaying equipment, and personal belongings left behind tell a story of a hasty departure. It stands as a haunted radioactive ruin, a monument to a forgotten era, slowly being reclaimed by the sea. There are haunted lighthouses, and then there is Thévenet. This lighthouse in Brittany, France, is considered so evil so cursed that for decades no one could man it without going insane or dying. Built on a rock where legend says Ankou, the personification of death in Breton folklore, comes to collect the souls of the drowned, the lighthouse was doomed from the start. The very first keeper went mad, believing he heard voices ordering him to leave. His replacement died under mysterious circumstances. A third keeper reportedly cut his own throat. The stories became so horrific that the French government broke its own rule and allowed keepers to have their wives live with them. But even that didn't stop the curse. One keeper's wife died in the tower, and he was forced to preserve her body in salt until he could be relieved. The place was eventually automated because no one would work there. The sounds heard from the rock were said to be the screams of the damned, Kerts Yol, the Breton for go to hell. This isn't just a haunted place. It's a place many believe is a gateway to something dark and malevolent. Our number one most scary lighthouse takes us back to the Great Lakes, to a place of profound isolation in northern Lake Michigan. The White Shoal Lighthouse stands 20 miles from the nearest land. This candy-striped tower is an iconic sight, but its remote location meant keepers were completely cut off from the world for months at a time, especially during the brutal winters when the lake froze over. This extreme solitude has a way of playing tricks on the mind. But what keepers experienced here was more than just imagination. The most persistent story is of a keeper who died here in the 1940s. He was a jovial, well-liked man who loved to laugh, but he fell ill and passed away before he could be transported to the mainland. Since his death, subsequent keepers and visitors have reported hearing disembodied laughter echoing through the tower. Others have seen a full-bodied apparition, a friendly but startling presence that walks the circular rooms and climbs the stairs. The isolation, the harsh conditions, and the documented presence of a restless spirit make White Shoal a place where you are truly never alone, earning at the top spot on our countdown. From the snake-infested shores of Brazil to the cursed rocks of France, these lighthouses are more than just navigational aids. They are stone and steel monuments to human endurance, isolation, and tragedy. Each crashing wave and howling wind seems to carry the echoes of the past. The desperation of keepers trapped by storms, the sorrow of sailors lost to the deep, and the madness born from absolute solitude. The evidence we've looked at, the historical accounts, the countless reports from investigators and eyewitnesses, all point to one undeniable conclusion. Something remains in these lonely towers. These structures stand at the edge of our world, a threshold between the safety of land and the vast, mysterious danger of the sea. It's no wonder they also seem to be a threshold to another realm, a place where intense emotion has left a permanent scar on the environment. The spirits of keepers, murderers, victims, and soldiers are said to linger, their stories waiting to be heard by those who dare to listen. The light may now be automated, but the darkness within these lighthouses holds secrets that will never fade. The stories we've shared are just a fraction of the legends that surround these incredible places. Every coastline has its tales, every harbor its ghosts. What have you heard? Have you ever visited a lighthouse and felt that unmistakable chill? That feeling of being watched when no one was there? We want to hear your stories. Share your own experiences and local lighthouse legends in the comments below. Join the investigation. Because the search for answers, the quest to understand what lies beyond the veil, never ends.